Welcome to another episode of Motherhood Makeup and Mindset. This episode is so special, you guys. I wanted to do something different with season 2 and actually have a panel conversation because I think they're just like the coolest thing ever. And I have recently gotten to know some really, really dope moms. And I thought that having a conversation about mom guilt would not be the same unless I was talking to other moms that I know has absolutely had to deal with this themselves. So I am pleased to introduce to you all Jaree Williams, who is a postpartum wellness coach. I have Nikita Hicks, who is all the things, okay? She is an educator. She is a coach. She is a mama, and so is Jaree. And I also have Aaliyah Burgess, who is the very intentional mama. And we are just going to chat it up about mom guilt. And this is something that I know that we all absolutely have had to deal with. I literally had to deal with it like 15 minutes ago. So I know everybody has had to experience it at one point or another. So we're going to get this girl chat started. Shall we?
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm ready.
All right. So the first question I wanted to ask was, what does mom guilt actually mean to you all, and how does it show up in your life? Don't all should see their faces.
Okay.
They're like, where should I begin?
So to answer the question of what it looks like for me, whenever I had my daughter, it shows up very differently than after having my son. So with my daughter, I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't want anybody else to necessarily keep her because in my head, it was like, I should be the one who is taking care of her. She is my responsibility. I shouldn't be putting this on anybody else. And so it looked a lot like me always being with her and not letting go. And also like turning down people, even though I had like no reason to turn them down. Like friends would ask me to come out and I'm like, oh, sorry, I can't. When really I could. It's just that mom kept me in the house.
That's good.
Yeah. So for me, mom guilt, it has two parallels for me. So I always think when it comes to mom guilt, is it part of my non-negotiable list or is it something like, you'll get over it, right? So for me, it's like, okay, am I taking care of myself or is it going to have some type of impact in the future for my kids? If it doesn't, then it's just like, okay, well, I'm not going to worry about it. Because, a lot of stuff, as you know, when you go into motherhood, you can't control a lot of things. So that's where you have to ask yourself, is it a non-negotiable or will they be all right? So it's just like, if they're going to their grandparents' house, if they're safe, even though they're eating snacks that they don't eat at home, but if they're safe, then it is what it is because I can't control that. Versus they're not harmed, they're safe. So it's kind of like battling those two things.
Yeah, I like that part. Isn't a non-negotiable? We're going to have to come back to that. It's not good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Well, I definitely agree with Aaliyah first. Just having the village, but then turning down the village when it's like, well, I keep this like, no, I feel like I should be responsible. But then on the other hand, I'm too tired to do anything with my kids. I don't want to play dolls. I don't want to do tea party. I don't want to do whatever. Then I'm like, dang, I feel like I'm neglecting them. Yeah.
I would have to agree with all of you. I think we have this like unintentional expectation for ourselves as moms where we have to be the one that does everything for our kids. And I think we even treat our significant others like that sometimes too. Like, oh, well, I'm the only one that can handle this. I'm the only one that can feed them correctly. I'm the only. And when you think about it, it's really like a sense of pride, really. Like, oh, I'm the one that can do this particular thing, where we are pushing away the village that we might actually have. Now, there's some moms who don't have a village, but for some of us who do, or it could even be like one person. And then defining a village in itself could be different. It might not be a family member. It could be those friends that you're like pushing off and saying I can't do anything with, or, the auntie that's not really an auntie, but she'd be more than willing to, give you an hour here and there. And we have this like fake responsibility that we have to be the one to do everything. So we don't go out, we don't do anything with our friends, we struggle with our businesses, we struggle with our careers because it's like, oh, me, I have to do everything. And it kind of puts us in a box. Honestly, that's how we end up in this, oh, I'm just mom box. And now we're like trying to crawl out of it. And really put ourselves in it to begin with. It, I think it started from like the generations before us, but it's just this thing where it's like nothing else matters except being mom, and that's not what we were created to be. Now, God, I fully believe wants us to be amazing parents, you know, to our kids and to teach them the way and all that other stuff. But I don't think that He meant for us to just that to be the end all be all.
Right.
But we sit in this guilt, and then it's just like, I can't do anything because they gave me the puppy dog eyes, and now I'm just the worst mom ever.
And that's not true.
I think that also creates that mental overload too. So, you know, that's like a more popular thing too. Like when you have all that mom guilt and then you have carrying that mental load, and that's where like that burnout comes because you're like, I don't know what I can like prioritize or, you know, I can't do like, if I'm tired and I don't want to play with you. I know I'm tired and I want to just sit, you know, versus like, oh, well, I'm going to push through. But it's just like, you're not going to enjoy playing dolls, and it's not good for the kid as well. Because then they're going to be like, you tired. I don't want to play with you anyway, you know. So it's kind of figuring out that dynamic for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Is there a particular like moment in your motherhood journey that you know that you really, really were struggling with the mom guilt?
I would say it's the first time mom, like in those early days, because you're just like, well, it's my baby. I know for me personally, like at first, when I first had my first son, I would be like, well, I need to do this. Like how you always say, I need to do that. And my husband's like, well, then what do you need help with? And it's just like, after a while, I'm learning like, wait, hold on. I don't want to do all of this stuff. And it's just like, can you help me? And he's always like, my husband's always like, well, I can help, but you have to be able to ask. And now like my second son, we were just like, okay, let's figure this out and like split the responsibility versus trying to like carry that weight just because you feel like you carried them for 9 months and they know you best, or like even when you're breastfeeding, you do spend more time with them, but it's just like, well, you can still have other ways to delegate responsibility so you don't have. So after the first time, I was like, oh, I'm not doing this again.
You learn the hard way.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh yeah, no, let me help some mamas not do it the hard way because it's not fun.
I would say I'm right there with you, with being a first time mom, because it's like, oh, I'm finally the one in the seat that is parenting, and all those things that come to mind of, well, I want to do better than what my parents did, and I want to make sure that I don't do this, and we won't do this in this house, and so all these things are running through my head, and that's like what was going on for me, because I'm now like, I have to make sure that this happens. And I didn't see it as having help because I didn't see growing up like my mom have that help. She was a single mom, so she was doing everything herself, which made me feel like, okay, I have to do everything myself. And I didn't know how to invite my significant other in.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it seemed like it was my second my second baby that kind of had me like what you were just talking about, you know, like kind of trying to pick up the load. And I think it was just something I was going through something with the second pregnancy, and so it was just a whole lot of like, no, I got it. But then on the other hand, because I feel like I'm gonna be a bad mom, y'all, you know, everybody's gonna look at me as weak, and you know, because then you know you hear that, oh well, that comes with motherhood. You know, and then I'm like, okay, well, if I don't do this, then people are gonna say I'm a bad mom. And this, I don't know. I just had all kinds of thoughts. I don't even know where to start.
But that's actually something that me and Destiny had talked about, because we oftentimes when people talk about motherhood, they always bring up the oh dang, I feel bad for you, or like it's like always the bad side of motherhood. We don't have a lot of people telling us the good side. It's like wait until you become a mom and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I think that's what gets us in that mindset where we're just down in the slumps. Like, how in the world am I getting out?
And it's also too like creating your own path, because everybody experiences motherhood differently. So even just because somebody else didn't enjoy one phase and you're loving that phase, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. So it's also too like being confident in using your mom intuition and just being like, well, like, you know how they said that's what motherhood is. Like, even for me, I have a 1 and 3-year-old, and people are like, well, that's what happens when you have little kids. Well, that's what happens when I ask for help. Okay, because I'm like, I'm not about to do it the hard way if I can, you know, delegate things and just be able to ask for help. Because sometimes people are in positions because they were afraid to ask. Like how you said, that'll make you feel like I'm weak. Well, now I'm like, well, when you're weak, you're strong. So I'm gonna ask because if you don't know, you don't know. So I think that also comes with that as well. Just creating your own path and expectations, and not letting other people like dictate how you show up in motherhood. Because then that's where that mom guilt come in too. Like, you know, like, well, can't take time for myself because I have to focus just on my kids. Which is like, no, you matter too. Your kids feel your energy. And your husband feel your energy. Like, nobody want to be around you if you're in a bad mood. I know for me, everybody go the other way. You know, it's like, wait, come back.
It's like, well,
They're like, oh, not today.
I was like, mommy in the room.
Yep, she having her moment. That everything you said is so true, though. But what else came to my mind was how, when you're a mom, there are so many things that are nitpicked too. And I think that adds to the guilt also. It's like, oh, they have to be dressed perfectly all the time or somebody's going to say something. Their hair has to be done perfectly all the time or somebody's going to say something. And when you hear it over and over again, we might brush it off, but it's like little pieces to the mom guilt puzzle that are just being added and added and added and added. And I think, I can't remember anything like specifically, but I'm sure there's been plenty of times where I've had to deal with it. Also, or like I said, just a few minutes ago, actually, we've had a situation with my youngest daughter, and I was supposed to be getting ready to be on here. And I'm just like, I gotta, you know, address this and, you know, get us to the point where she feels comfortable, or the fact that they're getting ready for bed right now. And I'm like, mommy just has this one last thing. I promise. I'll come say goodnight. But I think it's also important, and most of mine are older than y'all kids are, except for JR. But I've gotten to a point where I've had to explain some of these things to them, and that has helped my mom guilt a little bit. Like, they're old enough to understand that, and I explained this to them the other day, like, daddy's schedule is from this to this most of the time. Occasionally he has to work longer. But because mommy's the entrepreneur and mommy is home with you guys, my schedule is literally in these little pockets all throughout the day. So there are going to be times where I have to step away, and I need you guys to try to be understanding. Like, it might make me feel bad, but at the same time, it's like, if I continue walking in the guilt and every time I have to do something, I'm like, oh, mommy's so sorry. I gotta go. They wouldn't take my business seriously either. The same way that daddy, when he goes and he is working on the computer and he's like, I gotta work, they respect the fact that daddy has to work. But if mommy continues to operate in the guilt, like I said, then they'll just be like, oh, that's just something she's choosing to do, or that's just not that important, when it actually is. So mom guilt is a very, I think, complicated thing, to be honest. It's not just a matter of, oh, I feel like I can't function without my kid. There's a lot of layers to it, to be honest.
And I think you made me think about, too, like how you were talking about those puzzles of like all that guilt. But it also goes to, too, from my personal experience, there's more people that tell you the negative aspects of, like, say, one day you do rush out the house and you look crazy and your kids look crazy or something like that. There's more people like, oh, you got your hands full, this and that, versus someone saying, like, how can I help you? And so it's just like, even those small little moments, even when other moms are like, oh, I see you. Or like one time, this lady, I had my kids in the cart, and I was like struggling trying to get to the car and stuff. And she was like, oh, I'll put the groceries in your cart and I'll take the cart. And I was just like, that moment, even though I was like, oh, thank you so much. Like, she made sure I had them in the seat and everything. And I was just like, huh? Like, and it's just like the reality of like, there's more people that'll tell you, oh, you got your hands full, or like all these negative comments. And that's where that guilt comes too. Cause it's just like, dang, I walk outside. That's why I got to make sure my kids look a certain way or things like that. But once you get comfortable with like, well, it is what it is. I made it up the house. Like, you have to give yourself those wins too. Cause it's like, well, it is what it is. Like, you ate breakfast, right? So it's just like you having to, you know, boost yourself up, even with the small wins. So I think that's one thing that helps with mom guilt.
For sure. That kind of comes back to your non-negotiables you're talking about, like thinking about, okay, as long as you are fed, as long as you are happy, as long as you feel safe, like that's what matters more to me than making sure that you have on matching socks and a whole matching outfit, because my baby, she is in that stage where I let her, that is a battle that I am not going to fight with her. Right? I put clothes she can think about. But it's like, I'd rather make sure all these other things are taken care of than caring about you having that done.
Yeah. Facts. Because our kids are the same age, so I understand. My son would have a pajama shirt on with some basketball shorts to go to the library. Well, it is what it is. We made it to story time.
And to be honest, some of the pajamas you can't tell anyway that they are pajamas.
Right.
Avoid the meltdown. Like, come on now.
Come on. Everything else. Let me have one thing.
Y'all ever see parents, like, if y'all ever go out, do y'all ever see, like, parents who are going through the same situation? You just be like, I see you, like, we
here.
Yes. Like, your kid home at the table.
Yes.
Like, it's just, that's what I say. I honestly think that's one of the best parts of being a parent. When you go out and you see people with the same similar age gaps, and you're going through the same thing, you're like, oh, it's not just us. We're not crazy.
I thought it was just my child wanted to come out in 100-degree weather with rain boots on. Not rain. Oh.
It's not just you. Especially when they light up and they're pink. No, it's not just you.
Because somebody other kid got the umbrella on the other side of the park.
So wait. Let's pause for a minute. How old? So my kids are, for those who are listening and don't have a clue who we are yet, my kids are 6 and 3, frankly. Jaree, how old are yours? And then Keita and Aaliyah.
Yeah, so I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. And don't ask me how many months my 1-year-old is. I just know he won now.
That part. These months are so unnecessary.
I can win.
When people are like, how many months? I don't know.
He's what? Me, cross the threshold.
25.
When they ask me, I look at my husband like,
you don't know. We just know we got on the one, okay?
We survived, okay?
Yeah, definitely we gonna celebrate that one. Okay, hold on. Who else?
That's funny because my current occupation, they talk about the babies, the ages and months, and I be like,
ma'am, just give me the number.
Did they turn 3 last month? Or they gonna be 3? Like, I don't think.
There you go. There's like
12 and age, it don't matter.
Does it?
3, they 5.
I think the only ones I kept track of, and not even kept track, more like that's what their codes were 12, 18, and 24. Anything between that, I'm like, carry the ones.
Once you hit 12 months, you won, and that's all that I kept saying.
What? Unnecessarily. I don't understand.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh, y'all play too much.
I'm gonna start getting my age in months. But
wait.
I need a calculator. Hold up.
Oh my gosh. Do that next time somebody asks you.
Well, you gotta tell us how that one
goes. Let me see. Let me see how old I am in months. 348 months. I'm gonna start telling people that.
You got real tears over here.
Yeah, I want to know how old my baby was. I'm gonna tell you how old I am too. I'm gonna be at story time. Yeah, I'm 348 months. Y'all think they're gonna kick me out?
Big Cat was 300, right? You're no longer welcome.
Ooh, I'm right at 300 months.
Wait, if you're at 300 months, now I need to calculate. Y'all gonna make me do this when we get off air.
Ooh, y'all play too much. Ooh.
Just
Right.
He's 3, he 1, and I'm 348 months.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I literally, I can't.
Mine are 5 and 1.
Right.
Okay.
How many months? Okay, I'm dead.
So for people that's listening, if ages and months, we ain't the ones.
No, please stop.
We ain't the ones. Don't tell me your baby 32 months.
I can tell you that my babies are 3 and 1, and I'm 301 months. Okay, to be exact.
Congratulations on the 300s.
You made it.
Yes, I did. I made it
Now
over.
I gotta find a freaking calculator. My calculator about to be like, we can't add that high. Hold on.
Let me ask my husband how old he is in months.
Please pull out your calculators.
I'm almost out of the 300s, guys.
Whoa.
Oh, you're in the 4s?
Almost there.
Oh, congratulations.
In the 4s. 400.
396 months. That's so weird.
You've been here.
Look,
I'm about to continue, honey. Okay.
400s by the end of this year.
Ooh wee. Ooh wee.
Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't know what the next question is. But I wanted everybody to understand, like, we are full Tyler University right now.
Yes.
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 Tyler Central.
Toddler Central. Thug life.
Thug life.
Yeah.
It is the ghetto.
It's called the hood for
Both
a
my
reason.
kids are type A personalities, so
We got Tyler Hood and we got Preteen Hood over here. And I don't know what's worse.
Both.
I think they're equally difficult, and I think they equally come with a decent amount of mom guilt.
Yes.
yeah.
But it's at a different level. It's like JR might be upset that I have to go somewhere or do something. And Lyric might be, I can't at the moment talk about whatever she wanted to talk about that I asked her about earlier, but now she wants to talk about it, but I can't because I have something else to do. That's a whole different level of mom guilt.
I'd be like, girl, send me a voice message on my way out.
Because you about to joke. Because like I asked you. And I feel that. Because now you want to talk. And I feel like it's gonna come up in therapy in 10 years. But it's true.
Don't feel guilty though, because you asked. You just didn't tell me in that moment.
Right.
Oh Lord. So how has mom guilt actually changed over time? Like you guys still have babies. But do you feel like whether it's from baby 1 to baby 2 it's changed or month to month it's changed?
I think it looked different depending on the season.
Mm.
Because when I had a newborn and my oldest was 2 at the time, I felt guilty. I was like, oh, I'm not spending that time with him.
Yeah.
And then I'm with the baby all the time. But then I'm realizing, like, well, you won't be a baby forever. Like, we all hang, like, now we all together all the time now. So it's just like, it looks different for, like, I think for me personally, it looks different on the season of what the age gaps are.
That's good. That actually brought up a good point, too.
So whenever I was pregnant with my second, and I was getting closer to having him, I said, oh yeah, we ain't doing this no more. I'm getting out of the house. And so a lot of the mom guilt that I felt with my daughter, kind of like around like not going places, left. But then there was this point where I noticed that a lot of the things that I did with my daughter, I didn't do with my son. So like me and my daughter, we would play with each other a lot more. And now having both of them, I'm like, y'all go play together. And I feel bad because like there's, of course we don't want to compare our children, but sometimes I'm looking, I'm like, well, you know, like at this point in time, your sister was like doing stuff like this. And so it's now like this piece of I'm like, dang, I didn't do this for you. And now I feel bad because now I'm like in my head, we're a little behind. But yeah, so that's where I'm at when it comes to my mom guilt. I'm in that place right now where I kind of like, I'm still feeling bad because I didn't do some of the things that I did with his sister.
That's with my oldest. Of course, she's going. She's 5, but she's going through this 15-year-old stage. Lord, where she just starting to act crazy. And I know it's mostly because of the attention goes to the 1-year-old. My one, talk about day and night. She is complete. She is my crybaby. She is my Velcro baby, and I'm not used to that. And so my oldest is just like, y'all don't see me, y'all don't see. And then I saw, it's funny because too, when I think of that, and then I saw something somewhere on social media where this lady was talking about not having pictures of her other kids after the first one. I started thinking about all the stuff that I didn't do or haven't done with my second. Like, we didn't do newborn pictures at the hospital. I wasn't trying to do a first birthday party for her. I wasn't trying to do this. And then, I started feeling bad. And I'm like, dang. But then I see other people that's like, 3 kids later, I ain't do none of the stuff. It's like, my energy is depleted. Like, I don't want to. I wanted to do family pictures. I don't want to do family pictures now.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, so yeah, that has really taken me down through there.
Y'all all made some really good points. One of which I wanted to bring up was our capacity could very well be different with each kid too. Because trying to balance more than one is totally different than trying to balance just one. So I think if you genuinely are like, I don't feel like going in pictures or the same things with the second one that may be important or it may not be important to you, just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean that you have to do it. Just because everybody lays them on the mat and does the, 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, that whole thing doesn't mean that you have to do it because you also had another kid running around. And then trying to balance more than one kid in general is hard. And I think that's actually where a lot of mine comes in because you never know which one is going to need you the most at whatever point in the day or by whichever day. Like we're at the point now where I've noticed the other day when I was trying to set the girls up in their programming for school to start this week. Now JR's all of a sudden like, no, I want to send this to mommy. I want to be with mommy. I want to be. And I'm just like...
You really worry about me 5 minutes ago.
I'm only one person. Like, you can't call me, unfortunately. So, but, and you have to consider your own capacity too. And then the point that Aaliyah made, your son could very well learn the same things that you were able to teach your daughter just by watching her. Mm-hmm. Like, JR swears he's like 13 because he watches everything that the girls do. So it's kind of like God set it up that way where they're going to learn from their older siblings. And it takes a little bit of the pressure off of us because they just naturally watch them do things. Yeah. And because we're not going to have time to do all the exact same things that we did with each individual child. Like at the moment, I'm trying to juggle 3 of them. And it's just like, whew.
Yeah.
This is a lot. But one thing I actually learned in my episode with Kelsey last season And I think at this point, brought this up quite a few times, either in content or during this season. And it's so sad that she couldn't be here tonight, but she had a prior engagement that she had to be at. But she taught me something that literally changed my life. She said she started asking God, what do my kids and my husband need from me today? Show me what they need today so that I can tell, okay, this child actually needs me a little bit more in this moment than the other kid. Now, they might not necessarily like it, but only God actually knows what's going through their head, what they went through that day, especially if they're in school, or what they encounter that you didn't see. And it could be that God's going to lead you, okay, they need a hug right now, whereas the other kids are fine. Or it could be another kid at another given moment, but that could change throughout the day. So when I started looking at it like that, I was like, that actually takes a lot of the pressure off of me, because I don't know everything. And at the time they were in school, I don't know what you've been through today. I don't know what you're dealing with. You're not going to tell me everything. Even like we may have really good communication, but you're still not going to tell me every single detail because you may not even remember. Mm-hmm. But the one person that can tell me what you need today is God. So the best bet for me is to say, hey, I need you to show me what they need today. And even if you're your husband or your fiance, like, I don't know what you need. And they might not tell you. They probably are not going to tell you. Kita's rolling her eyes. But sometimes they need us too. And the only way that we can somewhat get it right, I think, is to put the pressure more on God than on ourselves, because we're human and we're going to miss things. If I'm cooking and you're in the living room, I don't know what just happened. And I'm probably going to respond based off of whatever my emotions are at the moment. And it might not be what you needed. But if I am building our relationship with God and if I'm close enough to Him for Him to whisper, hey, that actually wasn't right, they need a hug, then I can go and be like, oh, my bad. What's going on? Versus now it's a thing and now they feel like, oh, mommy doesn't care and mommy only listens at such and such time, when that other kid could have just come in a moment where you weren't overwhelmed or overstimulated. Mm-hmm. That's a lot. It's just
a lot. Yeah.
That's why it's okay to tell our kids sorry. And that is something that as a child, I wish I heard so much more. But I'm thankful that I'm learning so that I can be that for my babies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one thing I asked my son. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For sure. I don't know then.
Because one thing I became intentional about too is asking my son, how are you feeling? And he's kind of learning his feelings. So like, even if he is having a moment, it's like, I'm feeling mad. I'm like, what are you mad about? So it kind of gives me some kind of idea. Like, even though I don't know how sometimes you be mad about stuff that don't make sense, but just building that habit, like, okay, let me just ask you to see, or like me asking my husband, how can I support you today? Just those little things, like, even though it's not always perfect, because sometimes, sometimes I'm doing something or I'm not, but I try to be intentional about being present with them when I'm asking those questions. So that kind of helps too, though.
Yeah, for sure. How do you all think that mom guilt plays a role in how you're trying to balance being a mom, being a wife, and your business?
For me, it's time management. Like for me, something I had to learn too is just like the time management aspect. So like making blocks of time. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use this block of time and get my work done when I know that, my kids, maybe they're napping or dad's home and they're playing with him, or like if the kids are asleep at nighttime, then I'm trying to spend time with my husband, trying to be like intentional about my time. Yeah. So that's how I told you how, like, I told you I was took like the apps off my phone, or like I make certain time blocks, so like where I'm trying to do other things. I'm like, I gotta focus on being more present so that I can be intentional, because it doesn't make sense for me. I mean, you can't always control this, but like I have my laptop open and my kids are like playing. Like sometimes I'll do it, but I have to try to be more like conscious. Like, oh girl, close the laptop because they're talking to you about something. You don't even hear what he's saying. So I think for me, that's where that guilt comes in, where I had to like, okay, how can I put systems in place so that I can be more present? And that's where like, yes, there's still guilt sometimes when I'm like, oh, they're playing together, but I need to send this email real quick. But it's just like, okay, when you send that email, then close the laptop.
Yeah.
So that that's kind of what helps me. I'm like, okay, time management, even though it's always shifting because every day doesn't look the same, but me being conscious, like, okay, how are you going to use your time today?
Yeah.
And still making time for yourself as well. So it's just like, I think that's the biggest thing about why I was like, oh, I can't be out here scrolling, you know, when I could just be sitting in peace and quiet trying to recharge.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. Everybody got the same answer.
Yeah. I think I boil down to time management, and I kind of try to, you know, I kind of, you know, we sit down and just talk about, okay, what are we gonna do with this one this weekend, or you know, how me and you gonna be able to get our honey time. You know,
Yeah.
time management is probably gonna just it's probably just gonna always be at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm.
And just, you know, like I said, just being intentional. I try to be, you know, I don't know if it's just a bad habit of me, you know, just having my phone in my hand. I'm trying to look up stuff, and I got, you know, I got all these tabs open. I'm trying to make stuff make sense, and then I'm like, okay, give me one. I'm gonna come polish something else. I'm gonna come polish something. Hold on. And then it's like I let time slip away, and now it's time for bed, and I haven't polished nobody's nails.
Yeah.
So time management and intentionality.
I'm on.
I'd have to say, one of the biggest things for me is remembering what God's purpose is for me and my family. Because whenever I started out, I was seeing everybody else, because I'm going to be a homeschooling mama. We currently doing our toddler preschool homeschooling right now. Yes, yeah, but before, when it was just her, I was very much, I'm creating this because I don't see anything that looks like what I want. So I'm over here trying to make everything myself. I'm seeing everybody doing sensory bins and all the things. And I was trying to make all of it work. And I had to finally realize, like, okay, God, what is it that you need to do? What is it that you see fit for us? Like, how do you want us to do this? And once I really started seeing it like that, a lot of things just like, ooh, I finally got that woosah that I was looking for. Like now, we actually doing the homeschooling stuff, because all before it was just mama has this idea on her Pinterest board. We gonna get to it one day. I don't know what day it's gonna be, but we gonna get to it one day. And now it's like, that doesn't have everything I need on it. Whatever, we'll just go print out something else and we'll make it both come together. And so that for me is like my biggest thing, is making sure I remember the plan that God has for us and not just looking at what everybody else.
That's good.
Sometimes nobody got time for all that.
Oh Lord, it'd be a whole lot.
A whole lot, especially the sensory bins. It's a lot.
Look, hashtag out of Pinterest, mom. Okay.
Yeah. Cause sand be everywhere. Then you got to sweep the sand up. Then the other one try to eat the sand. It just we ain't doing it.
Too much. Too much. You got to do what fits you and your family. That's really what it all boils down to. But for me, I feel like I'm in a very interesting space, because God has put me in a place where He wants me to be intentional with my family, but also with my business. And my business just so happens to be helping other moms do the very thing that I'm working to do. So it's like, okay, it makes me even more intentional with asking Him for guidance, because there are some days where I have to be like, I'm not going to worry about anything business-wise, or I'm not going to do anything business-wise. And if we're being honest, there are some days where I'm forced to not do anything, because now my brain done shut down and I can't even think about anything. And I feel like those are the days where God is like, hello, you got this over here. I need you to like take a couple days, rewind, give your brain a break, and regroup yourself. And it's actually happened very recently where I had to force myself to take a break first. And then it was like, I've been waiting for this answer and for some guidance on this thing. And I had to literally stop for a minute. I had to be intentional at home and make sure that I was doing things here. But even as I was doing that, once I was obedient first, then he was able to be like, oh, take that clip and take that clip. Because if you're with me in person, you're like, y'all might see all the content, but it's literally like, all right, clip. It's like the 5 seconds y'all saw is literally all that I took, because now I'm like, okay, I don't care anymore. I captured that moment. I'll figure out what it was supposed to be for later. And then I still move on with my life. But that seems to be the only way that I'm able to balance both things. But then there's also some days where I have to be focused only on business because I have to get some things done. And then there's days that I'm only focused on home and the kids because I need to make sure that we're good. Like this past week, we spent a couple days just ripping and running the library and the music store and this place and that place. And it was like, okay, y'all. Mommy has some things to do now. I have like 3 days worth of stuff to catch up on, but I'm still going to find time to be intentional with you guys and do things with you later. But for this specific time, I need you guys to make sure that you are keeping each other busy, because you're old enough to do that whether you like it or not, so that I can get these things done. And then I'm back. But it's not easy. Like there's mom guilt in that too. Like you can say, Jaree, especially if they're playing. And I'm just like, dang. But it's like, one more thing. I'm almost done. And they're like,
hold on.
Yeah. JR, he loves saying that. Mommy, can you play with me? And then I'm like,
yeah.
I just need a second. Like, give me a second to play with you. And he's like, but I want you to play with me. And I'm like, you're not helping.
And there's even like an opposite side of that, where there are times when my daughter, she'll come up to me and she'll say, Mommy, I want to play. And immediately I want to say like, no, just because I'm at that capacity, or I just want to lay here.
Yeah.
But I then think like, okay, is my no like really beneficial right now? Because me laying down could actually, at this point, I'm not at capacity. I'm just laying here just because. And so I have to remind myself that I have to push through sometimes, because that it can impact her in a way where she starts to feel like, well, dang, mama never wants to play with me. That to be the guilt that now I'm feeling. So it's having to, choose and think about that as well.
I experienced that today, so I know. I just want to be, y'all. I just want to be, but y'all keep following.
That's so true. Oh my gosh. What methods have you guys been able to use to kind of work through the mom guilt? Now that we're at a point where we can recognize it, we can address it, we can name it, we can push through it most of the time. Like what got you guys to that point?
Jesus.
Besides God. Well, in addition to God. Because we still can't figure it out, okay? So. I think you're going to start.
One of the biggest things I think that helped me is just doing the thing. So, like, yes, I might have this feeling of I really don't want to leave her. I feel bad that I'm doing this instead of doing what I feel like I should be doing with her, and me just actually pushing myself to go out with that friend, to actually schedule that time to go to the library and actually work on my business instead of trying to work on it in this we're gonna call this our frugal office, okay? But actually just like pushing myself and like going ahead and doing it instead of letting that guilt and that fear settle in.
That's good.
For me, mine go back to like how I was talking about with the non-negotiables. Like, so one thing I had to learn is like, I got me a list, okay? I got a list of things. Like, I'm just like, all right, these are the things. Like, say for example, I had to leave the kids with my husband because I had to go get something from the store, and I was like, all right, well, I could get them dressed, but it's gonna be faster. That they didn't go out the house today, but I need some quiet time. So y'all know what I did? I told him. Well, I told my husband. I was like, yeah, I'm about to drive to the store. Then I got outside and I was like, no, I'm gonna walk. Well, let me give y'all a little background. It's a plaza, so I live behind like a plaza, so I just walk up. So that's why I said walk. I ain't nothing far, but I was just like, let me just enjoy some sunlight, get my mind right, and those kind of things. Like if I had to say, is it for me? Is it for my family? Or is it even for like me And non-negotiable is like hanging out with my husband, like making sure that we're spending time together. So if we have to sit at the grandparents' house for a little bit so we can hang out, then that's a non-negotiable because it's going to make us better as a family. So those are like the little things that I have. Like, is it taking care of myself? Is it taking care of my family? And just looking at the bigger picture, because they need to see too, like we have boundaries as well, and they're gonna learn. Like my son now, I can tell him to get out of his room. So it's just like just really modeling for that, because if we always live in guilt, it's just like they're gonna live in guilt, and we don't want them to live like that.
That's good.
Yeah. For me, it is really just learning to be and not do, or not feeling like I have to do. I grew up in one of them households where it was always doing. And so, you know, I try to just find myself, you know, we talk about time management and being into like, okay, let me be for a minute before we get active.
Yes.
Active all day. Let me wind down because I want to recharge so that I can be active. Being in utilizing the village. Listen, I think Destiny, you said something about, you know, the auntie that's not really auntie. Can I bring them over there for like 2 hours? I'm just finna go to sleep. That's all I'm finna do. Matter of fact, I might just park around the corner from your house to go to sleep. But yeah, that's it. And also, you know, like I said, I spent probably the last year just, you know, people invite me out and I'm like, no. And I had all kinds of excuses. Now I'm like, we going outside? Yeah. Y'all done been to church today? Okay, we outside. Y'all done been to work? Like I'm really like it, because I realized I was just starting to, I was in the house too long.
Yeah.
And so now it's starting to make sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta take kids with you too. Like you're like, well, we all going, we gonna have fun. Because sometimes kids love being outside the house, so it's like sometimes it's just easy.
I don't take.
You say bye.
She said this people that
I love my kid, but y'all, I'm that sorry to anybody listening. Don't call me no bad mama, but I am not that. You know, people like, come on, bring the kid. Nope, if I got to bring him, I ain't coming.
Yeah, it just really just depends on what it is. Sometimes you gotta be like, I'm going. I see you later.
Yeah.
You could have brought him. No, I couldn't have. Nope, that was my time. That was my time. I don't care if it was your 2-year-old's birthday party. That was my time.
You said you want to sit and eat cake in peace.
Well, because it's not fun for you, because now you chasing your child around there go birthday party.
Yeah, like, dang, I should have just stayed home.
That's it.
It's so funny.
That's so true. Because sometimes you be like, dang, I should have just stayed at home.
Nobody knows.
Oh my God. Oh man, I have to be very intentional about the time that I have outside of them because we do a lot together. So when it is a friend that's like, hey, let's go do something, I used to, like you said, have the excuses or just not want to figure it out. So I wouldn't initiate the conversation, or I would kind of like fade out in the group chat or whatever, because it felt like, okay, well, I'm just spending way too much time away from them, or I don't want to make it seem like I don't ever want to be home, or all of these excuses, like you were saying, Keita, but really it's the guilt that is talking to us. But what we don't realize is when we're sitting in the house that much, and we might be physically doing something, but our minds are not necessarily kept either. We're not, involving ourselves in things that we like, or watching things that we like. Everything is all about Paw Patrol and Sesame Street and watching them watch other kids play with toys, it baffles me, to be honest. It's mind-boggling. It's like the weirdest thing ever. But our mind is like consumed with everything that involves the kids. And to be honest, we're not even giving ourselves a chance to grow, whether it's internally or whatever, because our minds are just consumed with stuff that's not necessarily helping us. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't, do what they want to do sometimes, or have time with them and teach them things and listen to all the songs and all the other stuff. But when it is quiet and now you don't even know what you like anymore because you never take the opportunity to figure it out, and now you're just sitting there and, not to get all really spiritual, now the devil is telling you, well, you didn't do that to them, and you didn't actually, accomplish that. And did you see the way they looked at you? That's because you didn't do this. And it's just an ongoing cycle. What is the scripture? An idle mind? Or is it a scripture, or is it just a saying?
I thought it was just a saying.
The idle mind is the devil's workshop?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Or playground or something.
Playground, workshop, whatever. Either way, he in there causing a whole bunch of confusion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had to check because there's a lot of false stuff going around. Like, wait, is it not a scripture? That's why you can read about read Facebook. Yeah, but there's a lot of sayings that we've heard and we don't know if it's actually in here or not.
Right. But
we don't want to basically put everything that God has put into us, to waste, because we don't know what we like. We don't know who we are. We don't know anything on ourselves other than the fact that we're mom. I'm telling y'all, the days that my therapist was like, can you describe yourself and tell me who you are without listing your titles? I was like,
Yes.
hearing it. It took me so long that it literally ticked me off, because I was like, why? I don't know. What do you want from me? Don't know. But it was a wake up call, because I was just like, I don't know, because I wasn't taking the time to find out. I wasn't taking those walks, or I wasn't taking, just the opportunity to do a target by myself or hang out with the good friends. Because everything was revolving around the guilt that I had and not feeling like I did enough that day. So how dare I, go out to dinner for 2 hours, or I didn't paint their nails today, so I don't have a right to read a book. It's just a bunch of lies, to be honest. Yeah. So if we don't stay on top of it, then we're just pushing ourselves further into a negative place, and then we end up depressed in a whole series of situations.
And I think it also gives the kids a different perspective to see you outside of being a mom. So it's for me, I mean, sometimes because I'm at home full time, I have to include some of my hobbies in what we're doing that day. So if I want to go out in the garden and we're going to water some plants and stuff, it makes my kids like, oh, you like to do this? Mm-hmm. So I think that's one thing I had to learn. Instead of thinking evolving my day around them, I just incorporate less us. Let's evolve around us. What do we like to do? And just, really being intentional about that too. Because I'm like, well, at the end of the day, I want to go to bed. I don't want to be always trying to be up late to do things that I enjoy at the end of the day. So I was like, well, we're going to all do it together. And it may not be ideal the first time. I know for the first time when I took the boys to the mall by myself, because I just wanted to walk around old days, where you just go to the mall, walk around. I said, we're going to try this together. I had no expectations, but find out they enjoyed it, So it's just you won't know unless you jump out there. Now, I'm not saying you got to always take them though, but it's just if you know, oh, I'm not in a space to just drop them off real quick. Yeah. Then take them with them. It's better to try to do it versus just staying at home and just be
Yeah. My kids don't want to be in the house. When I asked them what difference I could make this go around of us homeschooling, they were like, we don't want to be in the house all the time. So I was like, okay, I'll be more intentional about it. But what I learned, I was telling Aaliyah this the other day. We were out, and by the time we had gotten back home, we had made so many stops that I was just like, I'm done. We
got to plan it out.
I'm like, I can't. It was a good idea, but now I need to reassess the day and figure out at what point did I reach my limit to the point where now I'm annoyed and it's only 3:00. So let me go ahead and, reverse it in my head and figure out, okay, I might have been able to cut this part shorter so that I was able to, like, my capacity would last throughout the day. Because I'm telling y'all, by the middle of that day, I was like,
y'all got it.
go do something. Please.
Yeah.
Just go. I'm done. We've done too much. Now, 3 out of the 4 places probably would have been fine, but I pushed it with that 4th place thinking, because I'm like that in general. Like, oh, I'll just push through. If it's something that I want to do, I'll push through. But now I'm realizing that pushing through is with 3 other little people holding on to me. So that push is a lot harder. It's 3
and
times
aggravated
harder.
and you want to go home.
Yes. It's like, it's no longer just Destiny pushing through. It's all of us.
Yeah.
And now I can't make it between 3 and 8 without being like, Mommy needs a moment because I'm about to scream.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily your fault, but I probably should have reassessed this one a little bit better. Mommy's not a baby anymore. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you guys give to the moms who are currently struggling with mom guilt? They've heard us talk about a lot, but I want to close with some encouraging words to them because this is something we're all dealing with.
Like I said before, in our previous session, me and you, Destiny, I said give yourself grace and go with your own pace. We don't have to, I know it is so easy for us to get caught up in the social media expectations.
Yes.
Are you even a mom if you're doing this?
Just saying. That just fish marks the fruit, ma'am.
Okay. You're right. Yeah, just give yourself grace and just and utilize, if you have it, your village.
Yeah.
Your village. If they want to do something, put them to work. Put them to work. Yes, come and get them. Yes, come and help me clean. Yes, come and like.
Yeah.
And stop trying to be, because I know it is so what is the word I'm trying to use? We're trying to break that curse of doing it all.
Yeah.
I know Big Mama did it. I know Madea did it. I know they all did it.
But I'm not Big Mama.
Not only Madea.
And Big Mama don't realize she had really lost her mind at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just put them to work if they want to do it.
Yeah.
Mine would be create your own story of motherhood. So do your own thing. At the end of the day, they're going to judge you either way. Judge you if you take the kids out look crazy, or judge you if they look nice. So go ahead, do your thing, and just be confident in it. Whatever you decide to do, be confident, okay?
Yes.
If you're going to leave them kids at home, be confident when you're outside. Like, yes, I left them, but I'm going to come back and get them later. So just create your own story, because at the end of the day, everybody going to have something to say. But as long as you happy, everybody else in your house going to be happy at the end of the day. So that's it. Go outside, girl, and just come back home.
All I hear in my head is, I gotta put me first.
Yeah.
Because I really wasn't. I was putting everybody else's needs, and even like the things that I was a part of. Whenever my daughter was 6 months, and Jesus, just thinking back to that, I started my master's with a 6-month-old, ended my master's with a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. But during that time, I was putting everything, even the things that I was doing. Business was coming first. My school stuff was coming first. The organizations that I was a part of was coming first. And by the end of the day, whenever my fiance would be like, well, you spent some time for yourself. I said, no, I didn't. I was still doing business work. I was still doing everything else, but spending some time for just Aaliyah. So putting yourself first. Like, it is okay. Nobody is going to die. Everybody is going to be okay if you take a moment to step away and do something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I would say start small, because I think when we tell ourselves and other moms to incorporate self-care or to not forget about yourself, we imagine like this full spa day and the super expensive trip and they're all amazing, and we would love to do them as often as we could, but it's not always realistic. And sometimes we actually have to start with those really small things. Like, I'm going to get up 20 minutes earlier because I don't necessarily like being bombarded the moment that I wake up, or I'm going to get the milkshake, or I'm going to, take that walk or do whatever it is. I'm going to read my book, even if it's one chapter a night. It can be something very small that you build on when you have more time and more capacity, and it won't feel like such this like huge task, because it really doesn't have to be that deep. And then another thing that I've learned recently is letting your village and your partner know what's going on. Like I said, I will go and go and go unless I'm being very mindful of it. And I know that, and I'm in a season where I'm trying to work on that. So I told my husband, I said, if you notice that I am doing everything for everybody else and I just keep pushing, I need you to be like, hey, take the night off. And then I might actually need you to be that reminder, and I might not always like it, but sometimes you need that extra accountability. So whether it's your partner or a friend or somebody that that's going to be able to like, hey, what did you do for yourself this week?
Yeah.
Make sure you have that accountability partner, because that helps too, because we will just keep going and going and going and then feel like, oh, nobody's being affected but me. But if you're affected, that literally is everybody else being affected. If mom is not at 100% or even close to it, then everybody else is going to suffer. So I think all of our advice would definitely help the mom who is dealing with mom guilt at this moment.
Yeah.
And write it down too. I would say even keep so what I do is like I keep a list in my phone of things that I want to do, or like things I like. Oh, look at this spot. Like if I get free time, then I'll go look at this place. Like, so you can always have a list to know what you want to do. You don't want to ever get in a space of like somebody comes to help you. You just like, I don't know what to do with my time. Like you gotta be able to run out that door and be like, okay, this is what I can do. Or even if you go to another room, this is the things that I want to do. So I say create a list.
Yeah. That happened to me. Like it was on a video.
Yeah, he just walked past me. Sorry.
Do you see what's happening?
Like, yeah, because he just walked up out his room, so now he's like, I gotta walk to go see what y'all doing.
Oh,
and he like, hello,
my sister. Hi. I mean, the other one about to pop up.
Yeah. Aaliyah, were you about to say something before we close?
Yeah, I was just saying, like, to that point, there was one time I had thought that I was about to go to something. It was an opportunity for me to network, get to know some people that I'll possibly have a chance to work with, and realize, because Instagram don't put the date flat out so you can see when somebody posted, you actually got to go to the comments now, the whole thing. I go, and I realized that the event was actually 2 days prior. So I'm sitting here in the car. I done told my family I would be gone for about like an hour, 2 hours, and I'm no longer going to this place. So I just started driving around, and I ended up getting on live, and I had a great conversation. But I didn't have anywhere to go because I wasn't writing things down that I wanted to do. There was ideas that I had in my head, but nothing was coming to me at that moment. So I'll take that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, do it. It worked too, because I'm like, what you want to do? Let me check my list.
Oh, just a second.
Mm-hmm.
That is really good. I appreciate you guys so much for having this conversation. And I believe that there are going to be a lot of moms who hear this conversation and are inspired and encouraged by our stories. And hopefully they take some of the advice that we were able to give and they implement it in their own lives so that we can all get out of this whole mom guilt together.
Mm-hmm.
That would be amazing, actually. Yeah. So where can they all find you all? Because you all have your own amazing businesses. You're thriving. You're doing all the things. And I want them to, connect with you all, engage with you all.
Yes.
I'm going to say that all season. Follow and engage, okay? Because it's important, not because we're annoying, but it really is important. So if you like the content that you see and you are really in support of the businesses that we are all trying to build, we actually do need you guys to engage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, where can they all follow you, connect with you, check the websites, all the details?
Oh, okay. I guess I go first. I was just waiting for somebody to pop in, but you can go to my website at navigatingpostpartumwellness.com to check out the blogs, get personalized support, and get you some mom guides so you can start making time for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to follow me on the socials, I'm more active on Threads, Jaree Williams, because Instagram, you can follow me, but I may jump in and out on that. So yeah.
Well, listen, now, I am really just I'm building, but follow me. I'm on Threads, I'm on Instagram, Kita_Hicks. That's KITA _Hicks. And I'm really just out here just, trying to help women find balance. Let's learn how to balance our lives in this out of balance world.
Mm-hmm.
And become the women that we were created to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that you find me talking about in these streets.
Well, you can find me on all social media platforms at The Very Intentional Mama. And one of the biggest things that we were talking about, especially that Kita hit on, is that if you have a village, reach out to them. If you don't have a village, that is one of the biggest aspects that I want for the moms around me to know that we have that for you. You deserve a village and you can have that. So if you head over to the organizedcreator.com, www.organizedcreator.com, you can learn more about the Very Intentional Mama Village, where we're surrounded with a bunch of Black mamas who are working to be intentional in all that they do while learning how to raise their babies in a gentle parent way, because many of us did not see that growing up.
I'm so proud of all three of you. I'm gonna put that out there. You guys are doing it.
Thank you.
We're all surviving.
Thriving, baby. Not just surviving, we're thriving.
I'm thriving. I like that. But thank you all again for doing this talk with me. I really, 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 really appreciate you guys. This will air as a actual episode this season. So the moms will be able to listen to the entire conversation. And whenever it airs, maybe week 2, I'm going to put that out there. It might be the second episode since we were able to record it. But yeah, I think this is a very, very important conversation that they all need. So once again, thank you all. And I will check in with everybody next week. Every episode, there's a new episode that airs every Wednesday, starting this Wednesday. Okay. Season 2. Okay. There's a new episode every Wednesday for your midweek pick-me-up, and I will see you guys later.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Motherhood Makeup and Mindset podcast. Remember to keep chasing your dreams and become the woman God created you to be. See you later.